Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss in this video about the relevance of Mahatma Gandhi in the contemporary world. What exactly how the world is going on and how the world is really undergoing in such a way which is based on something very complicated. The world looks like it's on the crossroad in the post Cold War era. Dear friends, this video, what I'm talking about, is the third part of the series of Mahatma Gandhi, which we had started previously about famous quotes, then we had gone for political ideas, and now today we are discussing about the relevance part of MK Gandhi in today's world. Dear friends, this is meant for purely a must for an IAS 2022 men's and tremendously useful UPSC men's of this coming exams under the banner of AGS IS Academy of episode number 10. And definitely, I would like to start with the beautiful quotation: Life is not about finding yourself. I repeat, life is not about finding yourself, life is about creating yourself. Yes, that's very true. From this Lolly Daskal, this is such an important quotation. So, the point is, what we are going to do in this particular relevance in this particular video, and the video which is also useful very much for those with this elaborate political philosophy, which is so much useful for the aspirants of UGC NET JRF set SLET, and also very useful for college and university students of political science. Dear friends, what is so important we are going to discuss under this relevance of Gandhi is, and that is so significant, that's about Mahatma Gandhi, as we know, a great humanity that really is seen on the earth planet. We hardly find a person of that stature. We hardly find somebody who could really fight for others, who could fight for neighbors, who could fight for the regions, who could fight for the states, the nation, and the world at large. Yes, we see persons who fight for themselves. We see any individual who talks about himself or herself, what exactly should suit to him or her. But person like who talks about others, who thinks about others, that is something very unique. And this is where the relevance of Gandhi is very really relevant. And when the world is undergoing a chaotic situation, the when the world is about to indulge into standoff, and the major powers fighting for their own national interests at the cost of many other factors connected somehow to humanity also. Dear friends, under this particular situation and under this particular very pandemic situation where the humanity is suffering, where there seems to be no way when to get out of this dreadful situation one after another, when the humanity is being submerged under this particular unparalleled disease what humanity is undergoing, COVID-19, and different variants are coming one after another, appearing in one or other form. And then relevance of Mahatma Gandhi becomes much more important than we can discuss ever about this. An unparalleled stature that remains destined to change the history of mankind with good deeds and actions, suitable to every one of us who are peace lover and who believe in humanity and who believe in inclusiveness of the humanity. And as we see right across the world, majority of the people, they believe for themselves and they believe in exclusiveness rather than inclusiveness. That's where the society gets divided. That's where the humanity gets divided. That's where the connectivity between the hearts gets somewhere lost. And this is where the role of right persons, the role of good human citizens become even more important than one can imagine. And this is where somewhere about the humanity, when every right person should take the lead, come what may. Humanity is more important than anything else. If humanity is not there, nothing can be saved. There is no point of a desert planet where humanity is not there. Even the planet is for human beings to survive, live, progress, and develop in peace. If that's not the case, then Gandhiji said nothing has any meaning, nothing has any relevance. Dear friends, what is significant is Gandhiji, why he is more relevant in this particular point, we understood, like we tried to explain this. There's no dearth of human beings across the world. But what is significant is we hardly find person like him. And if we talk about like next point, it is said many good and many ideas of good people like Mahatma Gandhi's ideas were constructive for humanity are also useful if we talk about like United Nations. Even the highest body in the world, like international organizations of that stature, United Nations, even UN has got some good ideas taken from him and tried to inculcate in its propositions, in its compositions, in its functionalities to discharge that particular duty, which is so essential from the right perspective of God. Dear friends, can we find the person who believes in peace, who is the apostle of peace and progress, who thinks about the development for all and all vulnerable sections of the society in the region and the world at large? How where we can find this kind of personality at this stage when the world is about to confront to each other for their own self-interest? Dear friends, stature of such a personality hardly we can find and hardly we can come across. And on that basis, if the world is there, if the humanity is there, then always the question is there for peace, development, progress. And whenever, wherever these terminologies are there, we can find Gandhi, we can find the reflections of Gandhi for humanity. Dear friends, Mahatma Gandhi was one of the giants of the 20th century. We can say a global icon. He was the apostle, he was the symbol of the backward, the downtrodden, the oppressed classes, oppressed sections of the society, not only a particular country, rather anywhere in the world, anywhere on the earth. If anybody was suffering from these kind of chronic situations, the voice of Gandhi could be heard even there. That was so important. If we talk about like how come we can say his voice was relevant, yes, more lot of voices are there today everywhere to be seen, but his voice was different. And why that was different? Because that voice was for the oppressed classes, the suppressed classes, the voice for humanity. The voice was not for selfishness, the voice was for others. Egalitarian society. The voice was made for the eradication of poverty, love, peace, and affection. And that was so important, dear friends. It is said he always tried to connect the people. While we see right across the world today, people try to connect heart not for right reasons. Rather, if we say in different words, people try to disconnect hearts from each other for their own welfare, for their own values, not for the values of the society, not for the values of the other nations, or even for their own people. It is such a case of pathetism that we cannot believe what the world is doing today. And how the world is going today is something that is beyond imagination, dear friends. Further, when we see about the relevant part of MK Gandhi, The question is, why was he considered still relevant? For the very reason he talks about the love and affection. He talks about how to survive in the world in which can be really useful for the betterment of the humanity. He never talks about like an era which could really create problems. Dear friends, Gandhi further says, in the absence of humanism, in the absence of love, nothing we can find about the survivability of Gandhi, come what may. It is his thought, it is his perceptions which talks about for every nook and corner. Gandhi is relevant not only in a particular locality, he is relevant everywhere in this globalized world. His relevance can also be measured by the movements he played in his entire life for the freedom of humanity against the oppressors. He never really was shy of going against those who were oppressors. He had never even one small thought that he should not face the giant operator, the giant who was suppressor of the humanity. Wherever he was, he raised his voices. Wherever he was, he fought for the cause of the development, the peace, which is and which was so essential even that time and which is now and which will be. He fought tooth and nail how best things can be done in the way and for the benefit of the humanity, the public at large. Dear friends, his relevance cannot be measured how much he really used his entire life for good things, how much nobody can really find the fathom what he did for the country, what and how even sustainable development and human rights somehow whatever is connected to the ideas, even UN charter, UN somehow in one other form also has linkages with the sustainable development, which is now the focal point for the whole world to procure, so much so that can be tremendously beneficial for the country at large, also had in one other form connected with the Gandhi. Dear friends, another very very important weapon of Gandhi was non-violence. As we know, everybody, majority of the people all over the world, they turn violent as soon as their any even slightest interest gets hurt or slightest interest gets suffered, they become violent. But non-violence was a great tool of Mahatma Gandhi to bring peace and justice, which are so essential at any cost for any country, for an individual, for the region, for the society, for the country, or for the nations to develop. In the absence of peace, no country can develop. In the absence of peace, no society can progress and develop at any cost. Therefore, even in the absence of the justice, if justice is not there in any country, if justice is not there in any capacity, if justice will not be there for anybody, then the entire system of the society will collapse. If the justice will not be in the world, whoever in the world is will never ever think to survive or think to live, because justice is the hope for the oppressor, oppressors oppressed, ruled, who are at the bottom of the society. So justice is very significant to run the society, to run the country, to run the nation. And he always believed in right, justice, and peace. Dear friends, further, Gandhiji was also very vocal about the advocacy of cleanliness and drinking water for the hygienic facilities wherever in the world is possible, because in the absence of cleanliness and hygienic facilities, it is always something inviting chronic diseases. And to eradicate that, to tackle that, it's very very significant. One should have sufficient amount of will, and that will should be for the sake of justice, for the sake of peace, for the sake of cleanliness, and for the sake of potentialities to facilitate drinking water, to help people where ever they are deprived of these basic things. Dear friends, the next what we can talk about the relevance part of MK Gandhi is Gandhiji always believed in inclusive humanity and the advocacy of success that is a must for all human beings to survive. So that is very important point. If the country has to survive, if the society has to survive, the inclusive method, inclusive economy, inclusive political, everything inclusive has to be there. Dear friends, more than anything else, his philosophy was not only limited for limited discourses, rather for the entire world to follow. He was not meant for any individual capacity or any individuality. His discourse was for all to see, for all applications, which could be really useful for the state, nation, society, or individuality. And Gandhi's enduring legacy plays a decisive relevance for the entire world regarding if we talk about environmental protection, if we talk about non-cooperation, if we talk about non-violence and sustainable development, or if we talk about global citizenship, or even we talk about untouchability, inequality, or justice. These are the terminologies which always find relevant in every society, everywhere in the world. That is so significant, nobody can deny this. Dear friends, if we talk about the relevance of Gandhi, Gandhi never believed that the military intervention or the force can be the solution of anything. Gandhi always denied that because force and military interventions are always against the peace and development and the humanity. If anybody talks about like solving the problem by force means not at all interested to solve the problem, rather is about to create the problem because force and military interventions are other way around never ever able to solve the problem. Dear friends, what is significant is the solutions of any problem can be done through the peaceful method, through the dialogue. That is very important weapon for human beings. So dialogue as a weapon should be used to resolve the crisis, to solve the problem. Everybody in the society has the right to survive, to live in peace and progress. But if that's not there, the problem will start. So Gandhiji firmly believes that all these terminologies what we talk about, like his ideologies, his belief convictions regarding humanity and inclusive thoughts, should be taken into considerations, should have been adopted, and is relevant. And this terminology and all terminologies are relevant and will be relevant for all times to come. Dear friends, it's very important that the public at large should think, should decide, should understand Gandhiji person like of that stature hardly can be found anywhere in the world, or if at all can be found, rarely happens to come across. What is significant is we all as a person should appreciate, should think that Gandhian thoughts, Gandhian values are so significant, and not only it was significant even that time when Gandhiji, after getting education, went to South Africa, and then he there found and saw and confronted unusual events that were totally against the humanity and not at all could have been tolerated. Can you imagine how Gandhiji tried to fight those menaces and tried to bring humanity in the center stage? Can we believe how best those obstacles were tried to be eradicated and how that experiment which Gandhi underwent while staying in South Africa played a replication, and then the same replica model was used when he came back to his homeland, and then there he started involving in different set of politics which could be useful for the humanity, which could be useful fighting against the oppressor, fighting against the mightiest empire. He never feared how can he fight against that empire, but then because he was above, no, ordinary citizens and normal persons. So he took up the agenda to align with the oppressed classes and lead from the front. Dear friends, do share, like, and subscribe so that you can get the latest notifications about the latest videos. Also, if it's helpful for you, do pass on to your friends and relatives so that they also can take benefit out of it. Finally, thanks for watching the video. Thank you very much.